Today I'm going to be talking about McMaster Health Science Supplementary Application. Hello everyone, my name is Jeanne, and today I'm going to be continuing my McMaster Health Science University series. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience with the supplementary application. I'm sorry this took so long. I've been planning this video for a while and school has been kind of busy, but graduated. So we're all good. Summer vacation, let's go. Stuck in my house, not doing anything, but that's okay. One of the main concerns that I got regarding my last video, and I'm sorry I didn't address this in that video, was a lot of people were worried that they didn't have enough extracurriculars and they shouldn't even bother applying. Well, McMaster Health Science doesn't ask for your extracurriculars. I know, that could be either really great news or really bad news for you depending on how committed you are to your extracurriculars. And the reason why they don't is because different schools will have different opportunities for students. So I can kind of see where they're coming from, but for me, someone who had a lot of extracurriculars, I was so frustrated because I did all of this and this is my top program and they are not going to know any of it. But that is, it is what it is. All they have is the supplementary application and the GPA requirement. So I'm going to start by talking about some of the requirements for McMaster Health Sciences. So first and foremost, you need a minimum of a 90% average of your grade 12 top 6 courses. And that has to consist of university English, university biology, university chemistry. You need a math, so university data management, advanced functions, or calculus. And then you need one non-math or non-technology course, and then one extra university or mixed course. Now, what is not considered? So they don't ask for your resume, they don't ask for reference letters, they don't ask for your extracurriculars, volunteer experience, work experience, they don't ask for any of that. Also, they don't care about your OUAC ranking. For those of you who don't know what that is, when you apply for university, you rank your programs by choice of most likely to attend to least likely to attend, and they don't care about where you rank McMaster Health Science. After you meet these grade requirements, you get your supplementary application, and when you have the 90% average, that just basically gets it read. So how the supplementary application is reviewed, it's reviewed by the Faculty of Health Sciences as well as some fourth-year health science students, and all your essays are not really long, they're quite short actually. They're graded on a 1 to 7 scale, and they're marked by several reviewers, and if there's disagreement between those, then an extra reviewer is added. So your supplementary application score is added up and your GPA is also taken into account, and those combined determine whether you get accepted or not. And this sort of explains why you'll hear people with 99, 98 averages get rejected, because it just means they didn't have a really high supplementary application score. To give you guys some context, this year there were 1,400 applicants with 94 averages and above, and 85% of them got rejected. Applicants this year who had averages between 90 to 93, they had to have scored in the 95th percentile on the supplementary application to have gotten in, and no one who scored below the 85th percentile in the supplementary application got in. Really emphasizes how important the supp app really is, and the lighting just changed. Okay, so that's basically what I have to say about what is required by McMaster Health Sciences. If you guys have any more questions, I don't know what else you can ask, but you can always leave them down below and I'll try to answer them as best as possible. You can also reach out to me on my Instagram. It's at Jeanne__ because there's a lot of Lyns out there, I think. So now I'm going to move on to some tips that I may have. Unfortunately, I am not allowed to read you guys my specific answers. I checked on their website and I emailed the Faculty of Health Sciences and they said I can't. Also, the questions change every year, so I don't know how useful it would be to hear my answers. So I'm just going to give you guys some tips on what I learned basically from my experience, but it'll most likely be different for you guys because the questions change very drastically every single year. So let's begin. Tip number 1. So this is kind of obvious, but you have to set aside enough time for you to complete the supplementary application. But this kind of differs between people. So a lot of people say to start extremely ahead of time. And while that is generally a good strategy because you're not as stressed, you can split the workload out in months in advance. I personally like to work on assignments pretty, I wouldn't say last minute, but I prefer to do assignments just in one sitting. That's just how I like to work, especially with writing assignments where I'm once I get into the groove of writing, I just keep going and if I stop, then I might just lose that groove. So that's how I did it. I wrote my supplementary application pretty late, like January, February, around then. But my advice, set aside enough time to make at least 2 to 3 drafts, because your first draft is always not going to be good. Like it's just not. Anyone who has experience with writing, or even like who take English seriously in high school, I did it most of the time, but still, you need a couple of drafts before you actually write something that is good. So definitely write a couple of drafts. Tip number 2, when approaching an abstract or open-ended question, think as denotatively as you can before you branch out creatively. I'm speaking specifically to the infamous bird question. So this year there was a question, the first question, where they asked, I think, how do you feel about this artwork? And if you are as artistically illiterate as I am, this question came as a bit of a shock, because it's a health science program and they're asking you to review artwork. And next year's questions will probably also be equally as random, because they always are. Why they ask questions like this? I think it's to assess whether you think creatively or critically. I'm not really sure. So first I researched the artist and like other artworks she had. And I did this basically so I can lay down the framework for what I'm going to be focusing on. So this was an Inuit artist, and she was very notorious for painting a lot of birds. So immediately I was thinking, okay, nature, maybe I could talk about something like that. I also did some research and talked to some of my friends who are Indigenous and had a lot of knowledge on like Indigenous art, Indigenous culture, to see what are some themes that I can focus on in my answer, and I decided to focus on nature. I basically talked about everything that was in the artwork and sort of related it to other stuff. It's a bit of a stretch, but like if you take an English class, everything's a stretch. So I talked about like the colors, the textures, and the art, and I talked about the sizing differences, like the big bird compared to the small man, and how the small man didn't really have a defined head, representing humanity's lack of direction. I was pretty proud of that. So lay down the facts first before you think creatively. Someone in my program wrote a poem for this question, and it is really, these questions allow for a lot of creativity. So do something that makes you stand out. So if you're not entirely confident with your writing and analytical skills, do something great, like the poem. I thought that was an incredible idea. Or write a haiku. I don't know. And definitely try to avoid cliches. It's not much of a problem with the health sci application, in my opinion, just because the questions are like really random, but be authentic and try to be as creative as you can. Tip number 3. Although they don't explicitly ask you for extracurriculars, if you have one that is important to you and can be related to one of the questions, I think this can really help you. So personally, I talked about my volunteering experience in Ghana and related that to my second supplementary application question, which asked, if you could work for any of the 13 institutes at the CIHR, which one would you want to work at and why? And it gave like a list of institutes, like Institute of Cancer Research, Institute of Aging, and I wrote my answer narrative style. So, sorry to read this. I talked about an experience I had with seeing someone die for the first time. And I recall it was my first day on the job, and a woman came in, she had really massive infected fibroids. Like I thought she miscarried or it was like a self-induced abortion, but it was actually fibroids, and they were huge. And I'm not going to go too in depth with what happened just because it is a pretty personal experience. So I talked about that, summarized that story real quick, and then I followed up with talking about the different like cases that I saw while I was at the hospital, like malaria, tuberculosis, and just a bunch of like diseases that I had never seen in Canada, volunteering in like Canadian hospitals. So just talking about the difference and talking about how like prevalent infection is, especially nosocomial infections, because the hospital conditions are just so incredibly different. And I related that to how I would work at the Institute of Infection and Immunity, and how infection just touches every aspect of medicine, and immunity is like the ultimate goal. So I used a personal experience to back up why I want to work at this area. So if you get a question that asks you like why you want to do this, why you like this, why you want to work there, try to find like a personal experience, a volunteering experience, a work experience, anything that is meaningful to you, and try to relate it to the question, because it's very unlikely that someone else will have like your same experience, and that makes you stand out as an applicant. So whereas you're saying, I like biology because I'm very passionate about the Krebs cycle, like there's no substance to that, so you want to stand out. And I think using a personal experience or like a volunteering experience can really help. And I think this was one of the main reasons why I got in, because, well, I don't really know. That's just what I'm assuming. But this also leads to the whole idea of cliches. You don't want to do something really cliche like, I went to get my annual checkup and he was taking my blood pressure, and then I was just so inspired to become a doctor just from him finding out my blood pressure was like a little low, but like still, and then I realized I had anemia. Like, no, it's cliche, and it's obvious that that's not actually really meaningful to you. But if it's something really serious, something actually really meaningful to you, if you can find a way to include it, I think that would really make you stand out as an applicant. So those are pretty much all the tips that I have regarding my experience with the health sci application. These tips, I don't know how applicable they're going to be when it comes to your time to apply, because the questions are going to be entirely different, and I just hope that from my experience you're able to take something away from it and go into the questions with an open mind. If you don't get in, don't be discouraged. Like, it's really freaking random, and you don't know, maybe your reviewer on that day had a bad lunch and they weren't in a good mood. You never know. It's really random. Okay, so for the last part of the video, I'm going to be responding to some of your comments. I know a lot of you guys have been reaching out to me with questions. Don't be afraid to do so. Just send me a DM on my Instagram or comment down below, and then I'll try to answer your questions as soon as possible. I got a lot of requests to do like a note-taking video. I would love to do that. I take really nice notes. Okay, question 1. Is there a big difference between McMaster Health Sciences versus McMaster Life Sciences, especially in terms of getting into med school? So if you're interested in going to med school, you honestly can't go wrong with any sort of university or program. It really comes down to your GPA, your MCAT, and like what you're doing, like extracurriculars, research, and all of that. McMaster Health Science doesn't guarantee you acceptance to med school. You can go to McMaster Life Science, you can go to McMaster any program. You can major in English, you can major in gender studies. It doesn't matter what you major in or what school you go to, as long as you fill the prerequisites and then you just do whatever else is necessary for the med school that you want to apply to. So is there a big difference in terms of getting into med school? No, but I think more health sci students get into med school. But I don't know a specific like statistic. I just know a lot of health sci students go to med school and are successful in their med school application. But you don't need to go to McMaster Health Science. You can get in if you go to U of T, Queens, Brock, York, like it doesn't matter. I'm so screwed. There goes all my dreams because no one was there to guide me. I'm going into grade 12. I had a 90 average in grade 11. I have literally no extracurriculars. I have a part-time job and that's it. Plus 40 hours of volunteer experience at children craft centers and camp. And an additional 24 hours at a studio. There's no hope. I have no awards. Nothing. Sometimes get very jealous of others' success, but at the end, it's your hard work. Congrats. However, how in the world did you manage your time? Like, for real. I don't want to sound like a downer, but is study and driving yourself to these admissions is all you did? Or did you have fun in a social life? If not, that's absolutely fine. But if you did, how? Like, how can you manage all of this? Okay, that was a really long comment, and I have to dissect this. So the part where this person said, I have literally no extracurriculars and like there's no hope, I have no awards. Like I said, McMaster Health Sciences doesn't ask, like they don't ask for your extracurriculars. Like you're fine. As long as you fill the 90% average requirement, you'll get your supplementary application read. It's totally okay. If this is your dream program, definitely apply for it and kill it on that supplementary application. But if you don't have any extracurriculars and you don't have any awards, it's okay because they don't ask for it. Next, how did you manage your time? Like, for don't want to sound like down drivers. Okay, so I definitely consider myself an extrovert. I love going out with my friends, but in terms of a social life, I definitely think that mine was a little below average just because I did have a lot of extracurriculars. I volunteered like, I think last year, 5-8 hours a week sometimes, and it was a lot, and I had to balance it out with heavy school workload as well as doing other stuff for like student council. So I didn't get that opportunity a lot, but I have really great friends, and just because I don't hang out with them every single weekend doesn't negate the meaning of our friendship. That just got really deep. Wow. Like I said, you don't need extracurriculars for McMaster Health Sciences. All you need is that 90% average and then a really great supplementary application. It's important to find the balance of social life and academics, and for me, I valued my academics more than my social life, but that is different for everyone. Someone said, I'm shocked you didn't get into QArms. I have a 97 average, I think, but I know people with like 98 averages that didn't get in, so it really comes down to your average. Someone said, I'm at an overall 94. Do you think, I already applied to this, but I'm at an overall 94. Do you think that's enough for life sci U of T? Yes, if you have a 94, you pretty much have guaranteed admission to mostly every single program in Canada. Hey, thanks for great info, but I still don't know where she meant extracurriculars. Like I said, they don't ask for extracurriculars. Says she doesn't know why she made the health side program, but literally has a 97 average and does every extracurricular and volunteers. Like I said, like people with 99 averages will get rejected, and the supplementary application, I'm not entirely confident with my writing skills. Going into this, I thought I was going to be for sure rejected. You guys can see in my college decision reaction videos, like it took me like 10 minutes to realize that I got in because I had already pre-rejected myself prior to opening my letter. If you don't mind me asking, what was your average in grade 10? I think it was a 97, but they don't ask you for your grade 10 average. Hi there, I'm also interested in Mac Health side, but I don't have many extracurriculars. Do you think it's worth applying? Yes, because they don't ask for your extracurriculars. Do you think volunteer hours, extracurriculars, and awards affected a lot by getting in? I think extracurriculars, specifically my experience in Ghana, did affect my application. I think it did make me stand out. My awards, volunteer hours, no. I think that's it for YouTube comments. I'm going to check my Instagram. Remember, if you guys aren't following me, what are you doing? Someone asked like what kind of like writing style I use, informal or formal. I would definitely say formal. You don't want to use like slang or like colloquial language. Definitely on the formal side. I got a lot of questions asking me to share my supplementary application, but like I said, I'm not allowed to share that information, unfortunately. And I think that is it for the questions without regurgitating all the information that I already said. So that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys got something out of this video. I know the supplementary application is always super stressful for incoming applicants, and honestly, I definitely struggled with it, complained about it, and if you're interested in this program, and if you're interested in medicine, definitely give this application a shot, because you never know what could happen. I thought I was going to get rejected for sure, and here I am. I'm going to McMaster Health Science next year. Like, you honestly never know what could happen. If you guys have any more specific questions that I can answer, make sure to let me know on my Instagram or in the comments down below, and I'll try to reply to them as soon as possible. I hope you guys got something out of this video. If not, I'm sorry for wasting your time. But that's on you. You should have clicked off. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment down below what other videos you guys would like to see. Make sure you follow my Instagram. I post pictures of myself and like makeup tutorials, so it's not really relevant to this video, but I would really appreciate the support. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!